Hey,
Hi, Khalid.
how's it going?
Good. Yes, I'm counting the days actually to this event happening,
Yes,
which is why we are doing this particular video
yes, it's a
because I've got high
grand
hopes.
conjunction. Yes, yes, yes.
I have got high hopes. So, hello everybody. Thank you for coming along. If you haven't subscribed, do it right now. But this particular video is very much focused on the big astrological event that is coming up on the 21st of December. It is when Jupiter and Saturn are conjunct, meaning they are literally bang on exactly the same degree in the sky in Aquarius. So they're changing sign from Capricorn, where they have been stuck for quite a long time, and where Jupiter is very uncomfortable in Capricorn. So it's going to be a great relief for Jupiter to leave Capricorn and go into Aquarius. Plus, Saturn, who rules Capricorn, Saturn likes being in Capricorn, but Saturn equally likes being in Aquarius. And it's a very much a change of kind of like energy. It's a different vibe altogether. Saturn in Aquarius, but they are going to be joined at the hip. So just to clarify, the actual moment of the conjunction, and this is a bigger deal. This is a bigger deal than I'm saying here, which Khalid is going to kind of like elaborate on. But it happens at 4:13 UK time on Monday, the 21st of December, which happens to be 7:13 Kuwait time in the evening. It's 11:13 in the morning Eastern time and 8:13 in the morning Pacific time on the Monday, the 21st of December. And if you live anywhere else, I apologize. We haven't done the whole world, but hopefully you can work it out from there. So this is a really, really major thing astrologically. Right. Saturn and Jupiter, particularly Saturn, is a very slow moving planet. Takes its time. It's a generational planet. It's a long time in each sign. So just Saturn going into Aquarius alone is a very big deal. Jupiter is also slow moving, but it's faster than Saturn. But yeah, Jupiter moving into Aquarius is a great relief, because Jupiter has not been a happy bunny there in Capricorn. But Khalid, how often does this happen? Reveal.
Well, any conjunction, like an exact conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn, happens only once every 20 years.
That's a big deal in itself.
Yes, yes, it is. But the other interesting thing is that, right, so once a conjunction happens in a new element, once a conjunction happens between these two planets specifically in a new element, every subsequent conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn will happen in the same element for the next 200 years. So that means for the last 200 years, all the grand conjunctions, as they call them, have been occurring in Earth signs. And for the next 200 years, from December 21, the conjunctions between Jupiter and Saturn are also going to be in an air sign.
Right? So what you're saying is between now and 200 years from now, every time another conjunction happens between Jupiter and Saturn, it will be in an air sign.
Right.
So the next time it happens, will in 20 years' time, you're saying, will be in Gemini.
Mm-hmm.
And in 40 years' time, it will be in Libra.
Right.
And I am Aquarius with a Gemini moon. So I am very excited about this. These better be good tarot readings, because I've had fun.
Yeah, so wherever I think Aquarius is your 10th house, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
so I expect this change to be felt by you, particularly in the areas of career, right? Career, social reputation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool. All right. So,
And may I say, because I was born with the sun above the horizon, my most positive planet is Jupiter.
right.
So I am, yeah, again, my expectation is extremely high.
Yes, good,
Very
good.
dangerous.
No,
Now,
I mean,
before we do the tarot readings, from an astrological perspective,
right.
I mean, looking at the chart on that day of the conjunction, the actual that actual conjunction really is the great big highlight. Hang on, just 1 second. Sorry, can we just pause this a second? Yeah. So, looking at the actual astrology on that day, that kind of marriage, if you like, between Jupiter and Capricorn there in Aquarius. I mean, it really is like they are the only two players on the stage at that moment in time. Nothing else is particularly kind of doing anything interesting on the sidelines that I could see. I mean, it really was just all about that conjunction. I mean, would you agree with that?
Right. Yeah. So
It
specific.
wasn't sort of particularly being affected by or anything else in any kind of notable way.
So yeah, I mean, for the period of time that we're going to be engaging with for this reading, yeah,
Yeah,
I would say so.
just like
Yeah,
at the moment that happens, it is all about those two.
right.
It really is all about those two. Like at that moment, like it's like give them their big kind of moment. It's sort of saying I do or whatever. You
Yeah.
know, it really sort of like does feel like that. So the handshake between them. And what do you think it kind of means? Jupiter and Saturn conjunct in Aquarius. What's your kind of instinct that means in general on a kind of global basis? We're not talking about individuals here. We are kind of talking on worldly sort of
Right.
matters. Yeah.
So I think wherever you have Jupiter and Saturn conjoined, you have a kind of the power of expansion, which is a link to Jupiter, mingling with the power of contraction, which is linked to Saturn, right? So it's never, it would never be an easy kind of harmonious blend, as for example, you might expect from Jupiter and Venus, right? Because they're both like blessing bestowing planets. They both bring kind of positive, smooth things into a person's life and into people's lives. But with Saturn, it's different. You know, Saturn is known as like the great taskmaster, right? So basically, we're moving from a conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn and Capricorn to another conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius. So I still think that is much better than
Yes.
the Capricorn period, because Capricorn is where Jupiter has its fall, so where it's least able to act according to its nature.
Yes.
And also, Capricorn is a pretty conservative sign. So when there are strong transits through Capricorn, and especially when Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, is passing through Capricorn, that's when you expect conservative social structures and the powers that they have to be reinforced, right? So because it's that kind of archetype. Like if you're born with the kind of Saturn and Capricorn, you most likely would be someone who like respects conventionality or authority, kind of like, you know, knows the importance of preserving what already is.
Yes.
Whereas with Saturn in Aquarius, we have a very different type of Saturn.
Yeah.
So uh, it is Aquarius is fixed air, right?
Yes.
And Aquarius is a sign that's really very often, especially in modern astrology, linked to positive kind of change on a social level, on a collective
Yeah.
level, right?
Progressive. Progressive
Progressive,
is the word that's
right, right.
often used. Yeah.
Yes, yes. But it still is a sign ruled by Saturn, and Saturn never moves in the direction of quick or radical change, right?
No.
This type of change we associate more with Uranus, right? Um, which is the modern co-ruler of Aquarius, right? So basically, I mean, I anticipate that the move, Saturn's move into Aquarius, might trigger social reform and change gradually, right?
Yes, it's more about a long term. It's more about a long term sort of shift in
Yeah,
things.
long term and
Jupiter enhances things as well. It expands on things. So yeah.
yeah, and the presence of Jupiter there, I mean, it's interesting because like different astrologers have been really anticipating really opposite things from this
Oh really?
conjunction. Yes, they have. I mean, some have been saying that, oh, because there is this idea that Jupiter, whatever planet Jupiter is conjoined with, Jupiter tends to amplify the nature and energy of that planet, right? So some astrologers have been saying, oh no, this is going to be a period of really heightened and magnified restrictions of many sorts, especially on travel, air travel, right? With Aquarius being an air sign, and others have been saying, no, Jupiter is gonna amplify the kind of reform-oriented direction of Saturn's energy during its stay, right? So I think we all need to hope for the better. And I mean, the very least we could say, okay, the very least we could say is that Aquarius is definitely not as conservative as Capricorn and not as materialistic. So there's a shift from an earth kind of focused energy to an air focused energy, right? So more
Yeah.
room for ideas and communication also to
Yeah.
influence the state of events, right? Um, and the other thing is that Jupiter is also a philosophical planet, right? And we see this
Yeah.
especially in Jupiter's rulership of a Sagittarius and the way Sagittarius is often described, right? So I think that philosophical dimension combined with the fixed air element is likely to lead to kind of, you know, change in the way people communicate, the way people think, especially on a social collective level, like how they perceive themselves as members of a larger community. But that change probably wouldn't be occurring very quickly. It wouldn't be like
No.
a quick kind of thunderbolt kind of change. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to do this tarot reading today based on the conjunction, and we've decided that the kind of the tarot reading itself, we've kind of timed it up until Jupiter is 5 degrees, because Jupiter is faster moving than Saturn, so it makes the conjunction but then carries on its journey, and
Right.
by the end of January, so it hits it on the 21st of December, and by the end of January Jupiter starts to become more than 5 degrees away from Saturn. So we're basing this tarot reading really on end of December, month of January. But what kind of this will give an indication of the kind of the question for the tarot reading is exactly what changes will the Saturn Jupiter conjunction trigger on a global level. So it's about the trigger. But how that kind of plays out we will see over time.
Right.
So, shall we go for it?
Yes, let's do that. Yes. Great. Yeah.
So Khalid is going to do the first question, or the first part of the question. Shall I sort of say the whole thing at the moment?
Yes.
So the overall question is, what changes will the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction trigger on a global level? So the first two cards will be Khalid, and they will relate to health. And this is sort of global health in general. And the first two cards, it will be in the most positive sense of the word, or what opportunities, what, you know, will this bring, what positive opportunities, and the difficulties may arise because of this conjunction.
Right.
And then I'm asking the same two questions on the economic side of things, and general sort of well-being, like lifestyle, that sort of thing. And you've got to remember, this is very generic in a sense, because we are covering the whole world, like, you know, but in general, but relating to those areas of life. The third question is civic freedoms, the same two questions. And finally, collective consciousness.
Right. So we're gonna be asking the tarot for messages about any new opportunities, positive opportunities, windows of change.
Yeah, change for the better.
Yeah, and any possible challenges either arising from the conjunction or continuing in spite of it, right? Yeah. So for each of these domains, yeah. So for health and civic rights. As always, I am the slow shuffler, so sorry about that. But all right, so we're starting off with health.
Yep.
Positive. Whoa. Wow.
What does that mean?
You know, when something's so good, it's just sort of like you just need
oh my
God. This is really good. Wow. Okay.
Praise the Lord. What is it?
Well, I'll show it to you. Just patience. Yes. Okay. So definitely an improvement.
Thank God.
From different. Okay, improvement arising from the combined resources of very competent people. So I'm thinking primarily scientists, right, working on well, either cures or preventative measures, but also politicians coming up with really smart ways of containing the spread, right?
Yes.
And of treating those who've contracted the virus, right? Minimizing the chance of death, right? All right, are you ready?
Huh?
The Magician upright.
Fantastic. That really is all of the kind of tools at work, isn't it?
Yes, all the tools at work.
That's amazing. Wow, you couldn't wish for anything better.
Yeah, so I see it as kind of collective resources being concerted as if they're directed by the same source, the same will, you know?
Yeah.
So really people working together.
That's amazing.
So that
Do we
is
stop
really...
now? Do we stop?
Wow, okay. So that is good.
Yeah.
That's on the positive side for health.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the more negative side? Okay.
Yeah.
So even the negative is not so negative. All right. Not so negative.
Oh,
Okay,
good.
where not so negative, I'm saying. So, where I'm seeing it, okay, where I'm seeing the restrictions taking place are
Yeah,
still in the realm of social distancing. I think measures will be relaxed, but not as much as people hope for or really crave at this time, because people are just so sick. And well, I mean, individuals are sick and businesses have been also really badly impacted, right? But where the challenge is likely to remain, it seems that the message is clear. It's in the realm of social distancing, right? Um, but because this card has become upright, I'm gonna say that probably compared to where we are now,
yeah,
the restrictions will be eased and people, or I should say the restrictions will, yeah, they will be eased, but not in a radical way. And more importantly, people will have adapted to them,
yeah.
adjusted to them better, right? The lovers.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So the downside is people will still have to distance for a while.
Right,
Yeah,
but because this is upright, I'm reading
yeah,
this message as
yeah.
a
It's
kind of
still,
sort of like a peaceful transition to that
yes,
mode, you know?
yeah. It's a
So
very good card to come up for social distancing, I've got to
yes,
say.
yes.
Wow. Okay, so I'm doing the economic kind of well-being of things, and kind of like what positive change could come from this movement into Aquarius, and this that this conjunction could trigger in a positive way for the world economy. Ooh, okay, not so good.
Mm,
I don't think that there's going to be any. I mean, this is very quick to read. I don't think there is going to be any sort of magical um, improvement on the economy
mhm.
as a result of this conjunction. That you know, no, I just feel, and I'm asking what this particular conjunction, what positive change will that make to the world's economy? What would that trigger? I've been literally gone with the words, and it's like, no, I just don't honestly feel that there is any sign that this particular astrological event is
Mhm.
going to kind of have an immediate positive effect on the economy. Sorry, guys.
Oh, I think the message is clear.
It's loud and clear.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, is this particular conjunction going to have any particular detrimental change on the economy, or is it just going to kind of like stay? You know, are we just going to have more of kind of what we're used to as a result of this conjunction? And remember, this reading is kind of about what is being triggered in that up until the end of January as a result of it. So, okay, so I'm not seeing this as anything too drastic, but I am seeing we are going to have to continue to kind of like budget carefully. It's going to sort of feel that it's quite unfair that some people are slipping through kind of loopholes and you know, the net, and they're not getting the benefits that they feel that they deserve. We've had a lot of that. I think that is going to continue for the foreseeable. Times are hard. I think they are hard, and they're going to continue to be hard. Sorry. This conjunction is not particularly going to help that. Something else may come in astrologically. I'm just trying to put a little bit of a positive here. It's that we're not talking about today. That does lift it up, but this Jupiter Saturn thing seems to be much more beneficial to the health side of things than the economic side of things.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's like having no abundance, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't see that as any particular sort of change to kind of where we're at now. So
Yeah.
moving on. to
So
your third little,
economize, everyone, economize.
yeah.
Civic rights. Okay. So will we see any changes in the way that political structures govern? Right? Okay. Positive changes. Hmm.
That your cat?
Yes.
Oh.
He's a whiny one. Okay. Um, all right. So
My dog.
it doesn't look like this conjunction is going to make it easier for for reform to manifest at the speed at which people most affected by oppressive political structures feel like they want, right? It's more like a lot of that desire for change is going to be contained, and frustrations, I think, will continue, fortunately. Knight of Swords reversed. Right. I love that it's swords, very airy. Your mic is muted. Your mic is muted.
Yeah, sorry, my dog was barking. Yeah, it's very appropriate, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah,
commu-
crusading for
communication.
justice, crusading for justice at this time. Maybe it'll unfold in a different way, during the later part of the conjunction, maybe.
Oh,
But
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. But at least for that 1 month, when the conjunction is within an orb of 5 degrees,
Yes.
yeah, not anticipating any kind of positive, really kind of how should I say? Any breaking of the mold is what I want to say. Yeah, any kind of real challenge to the status quo. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. On the more negative side,
Yes.
yep, another card of frozen movement, just or
Okay.
impeded movement. Right. Yep. All right. So we got the Chariot reversed. Right?
Oh, very much frozen movement. Yeah.
It's funny, they're both like warriors. They're
Yeah.
both supposed to be heading somewhere, and it's both reversed in both cases, right? And I feel like that's like on an individual level, like many people will feel disappointed, that they're not seeing the change that they desire in their political environments, and
Yeah.
probably feel disempowered by that, and maybe some level of disillusionment. But once we return to this conjunction in subsequently readings, maybe let's stay hopeful. Maybe we'll get better results.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But on the health side of things, the health side of things looks really kind of like there is going to be a notable change for the better. And I kind of like feel that is a great starting point, isn't it, for for things to go back to some sort of normal eventually and to improve. That
Right.
has to be the
Yes, that is
main
yes.
thing, because that was the cause of all the problems in the first place. But so let's just see how this is going to affect the collective consciousness, which I see as a sort of the spiritual side of things. Is there going to be a spiritual shift for the better or for the worse, or is it going to stay the same? So what possible spiritual changes for the better could occur because of this Saturn Jupiter conjunction? I like it.
Great.
I think it's small steps, and I think it's simple, but I kind of like, I am feeling that it is a step in the right direction for the spiritual consciousness. The fact that there is this shift in energy, it is going into a humanitarian sign, and I think people will be a little bit more generous to each other in terms of like giving their time and kind of like being a little bit more caring of each other on the small scale, maybe just being a little bit more neighbourly and that sort of thing. I just feel if everybody did their little bit within their own family, their own home, their own community, that would add up. And I think it's only small things, but if a lot of people did small things, that's going to kind of like grow, seeds grow. So I feel, yes, it is a positive shift for the collective.
Yeah, very nice.
I do think it's nice. And it might be that little bit of generosity with the vaccines coming out, or just being more neighbourly for the people that are sort of still shielding or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, I am feeling there is a nice little step in the right direction by a lot of people. Now, the downside spiritually, because we will continue to struggle financially and we will continue to struggle politically. Is that going to affect the spiritual consciousness as a whole? I actually kind of like feel there will be a certain amount of a feeling of we're just going to have to kind of like wait for things to improve, and it's very hard. I think there is going to be a general feeling of not trusting what we're being given, what we're being told. I think some people, this is what I'm getting. I think some people will be quite negative, and that's not good for the kind of the collective consciousness. Some people will want to buy into conspiracy theories, or they'll want to buy into, I don't believe anything I'm being told. I don't believe I'm being told these positive things, but I don't believe them. I'm going to wait until they've proven themselves before I agree to accept anything. And I actually think that will drag down any kind of like spiritual advancement that could be. Because I actually do believe from this reading, and I'm being really unbiased here, from this reading, I do believe that the health side of things is going to improve. And I kind of like feel if more people can get excited about that and trust that, that's going to actually have a positive knock-on effect. And it's going to be the people that, no, I don't believe anything anyone's saying now, is going to kind of like cause more mental health issues and depression and drag the spiritual side of things down. So
that is disappointing. That is disappointment itself.
I feel there are positive things being on offer, and I just feel gradually it might take time for people to actually think, do you know what, that things are improving. I'm going to take this. I am going to take this and believe it and allow myself to feel a bit happier.
Yes.
And that may take a bit of work. That may take a bit of work and a bit of convincing for certain groups of people who are very, very kind of refusing that anything good is about to kind of happen.
Right. And I feel like also like when I look at like the page of Pentacles upright,
yes,
in that context of like the advancement of collective awareness, I feel like that might be a sign that communication is going to be like one key area where people will continue interacting and kind of develop an expanded awareness of themselves as a community, and how values might shift, where it would be, where it would be better for people to invest their energies, right?
Yes.
And even if it's not like a dramatic, like, let's say, uh, turn into a spiritual direction, but it could at the very least also be like a notable shift in the way people understand each other as humans, right? Because we always
Yeah.
have, like, with Aquarius, we have like this sense of community, and there are different models of that community identity, some of them more exclusive, some of them more inclusive, right? So yeah, I think there might be a kind of energy that pushes people out of tribal ways of seeing themselves toward more inclusive, less how do you say,
Yeah.
like, yeah, ways of perceiving themselves that are less determined by imagined boundaries, like, tribal identity, or or even national identity. I mean, in the end, like, all these boundaries are imagined, right? They might be reinforced by law, but the identities themselves need kind of constant feeding, um, through the imagination. You need to constantly imagine yourself, like, let's say, as only a British person or only a Kuwaiti person and nothing else,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. But so maybe in that sense also, that conjunction is gonna um, push people toward communicating in a more kind of communal spirit, right? Yeah. So
Yeah. I
I'd
mean,
say, yeah.
my particular four cards, three three of the four cards are feminine energy here. So I'm kind of like almost sort of like feeling out that the community as a whole
Mm,
is kind of wanting, it's kind of like waiting to receive something rather than actually doing anything
mm,
kind of to help itself.
mhm.
I don't know. I mean, what were yours again? You had the
So I actually have a total of three majors. But the first two for health, right?
yeah,
So the magician for the positive side, the magician upright,
yeah,
and let me show you here. Magician upright for the positive changes
yeah,
coming in the health area. For the more challenging parts that will
yeah.
still remain in the realm of health, I got the lovers upright.
That's right.
So I
Yeah,
think that's a sign that there still will be challenges, and they're
yes.
in the realm of like actual physical social connection. So yeah, if social distancing measures get relaxed, they won't be relaxed to the point of where people feel really, they might feel like, oh, we're finally back to normal, right? I don't see that
Right.
happening, but
Okay.
I
Yeah.
do see them adapting.
That's a lot to expect by the end of January.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and I see them more like adapting to these.
I like the
Yeah,
fact that the lovers, they are both standing there naked. It's a little bit like we could be a little bit more confident about, you know, exposing ourselves to people with friends and family and that. We still need to be a little bit cautious about it, but it's not like we have to kind of completely not see anybody.
right.
It's definitely an improvement. I think I'm really glad. If there was one of these categories that I wanted to see a change for the better, I
Mm,
would personally have gone with the health one, because I think that's the sort of bottom
right.
line of it. And I'm really happy about that. But I just feel on the other things, people could do more to help themselves. Do you know what I mean? I just feel it's like a lot of this is just attitudes, it's lack of trust, It's lack of kind of, it's expecting governments, it's expecting everyone else to do everything for you, and just, you know, we will sit here and take it when you're ready to give it to us. But I think people could be more resourceful within themselves and do little things. I do actually think there's something here that is saying that human nature is often just, it's very easy to blame everything on your government or your rulers or everything else. You know, we can do quite a lot for ourselves if you know, if we so choose to, and if we've got that sort of personality or situation. I mean, it's easy for me to sit here and say it. It's because it's easier for some people than it is for others. But
that's a very good point, you know, because if we go back to the civic rights part of the reading, so both the positive and the negative cards turned out to be challenged, and they both involve like these archetypes of like, you know, warrior archetypes, basically, you know, people who really want to go and get what they want, you know. So there is a sense of like individual ambitions being frustrated, right? But that's reasonable to expect again for like a month-long kind of influence. Changes in political structures tend to take much longer time to develop.
Absolutely.
Hence the contrast between Saturn in Aquarius and Uranus in Aquarius.
You did say right from the start, before we did the tarot readings, that this is a long-term thing, Saturn and Aquarius being in, Saturn and Jupiter being in Aquarius. It's not a quick fix. These are longer term kind of energy.
Right. Yeah, but particularly, I mean, for two reasons: that Aquarius is it's a fixed air element, so it's not a kind of, it's not a season of the year, let's say, that lends itself to kind of quick kind of change, right? It's more about stability, right?
And Saturn's going to be there, isn't it, for like 3 years, whatever. Isn't it 2 to 3 years, something like that?
Yeah, it can sometimes.
And also, I don't want to get too much into this, but Jupiter is nipping into Pisces for a couple of months in May, and Jupiter rules Pisces. Jupiter loves being in Pisces, so it may, and then it comes back into Aquarius again, and it may bring gifts, you know, from being on holiday in a place that it absolutely loves being. Who knows what it may bring back? So, you know, it'd be interesting to readdress this later in the year when Jupiter returns to Aquarius, or, you know, or what benefits we will get from Jupiter going into Pisces that it can then bring back, you know, later. So this is, but I think to have something positive by the end of January, moving in a positive direction on the health side, quite honestly, that is enough to make me feel really happy about this change. I don't know about you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Very happy.
Yeah. So that was great. So I hope you all enjoyed that. And it was a very, very generic reading. So we do specific readings, and we can even do specific readings on this very conjunction, where we can say which house of your personal chart that conjunction will affect. So you know, amongst other things as well. So we can narrow this down to a person's personal life, how they will be affected by it. So, you know, if you're interested in having a reading, head on over to www.thepomegranategrove.com. Or just like, subscribe, ring the bell, whatever it is you have to do. Am I getting better at this now?
Yeah.
Comment. And we're having a big New Year's Day party on New Year's Day. It's absolutely free. So if you want to come along, again, check it all out on our website. You do need to register to come along. So yes, you will need a ticket, but yes, it's free. So come and meet us. So yeah, marvelous.
Right, thank you all for
Thank you very much, and happy Jupiter Saturn conjunction on the 21st of December. Bye for now.
Bye.